In this video, I'm going to share Christmas gift ideas for men, women, parents, teenagers, kids, all of that, for people that are practicing the faith and those that aren't. So we're going to begin with those that aren't practicing the faith, because I think Christmas is a unique time to be able to reach them. I have two items that are not books, because I think books are a great resource, but the first one is a handkerchief. So this would be for a man. It's from a company called Virtus Cardinales, which means cardinal virtues in Latin. And my brother-in-law founded this company. This is what they have on sale right now. This is a great handkerchief. I don't know how many times, especially as it's getting cold, someone's nose is running, whatever, just wipe it off. Great quality. There are other items that are out of stock, so definitely check those out. I would encourage that. That's one way of giving a Catholic gift, supporting an awesome Catholic. He's married with 6 kids, so virtuous, and is an amazing man. One of the best Catholic fathers I've probably ever met. So definitely want to support him. Next is an incredible series. This is the best series I've ever seen to reach non-Catholics or lukewarm Catholics. I would probably give this to someone that's more interested or, just kind of lost and be like, hey, can I watch this with you? And kind of have it be like a social thing versus just like, hey, check this out, because odds are they may not watch it, but they did a really good job packaging it in a way that is like, you can tell it has some Christian undertones in it, but isn't like in your face. And it is just so well done. Incredible graphics, powerful storytelling. I mean, just wonderful. It's incredible. When I saw this, I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. So The Search, the Augustine Institute put it together. Highly recommend it. It's not cheap, so because it's a 7-episode series, but it is worth every penny. In my opinion, this is the best Catholic resource on the market today, hands down. Something that's visual, that hooks your attention. Literally, I was on the edge of my seat for like the first 4 episodes, just enthralled in it. Highly recommend, highly recommend. So check out The Search. I was trying to think of other items that you could give to someone, but if you give someone miraculous medal, a scapular, a crucifix, they're not going to want it. They're not really practicing anything, but these tangible gifts are helpful. The only other thing I can think of that someone would accept and potentially look at is a book. There may be audio versions for these as well. So I would recommend this first and foremost, especially if there's someone in the medical field that has fallen away from the faith or not Catholic. A Cardiologist Examines Jesus by Dr. Franco. This book is written by the Italian doctor who went and surveyed 5 Eucharistic miracles and wrote his medical perspective of it. And you see right there, Ray Grahal, I left a little endorsement there because this was such an incredible book. This was pivotal in the Eucharistic Miracles movie. So Dr. Serafini, I can't recommend it highly enough. I would definitely get this book if the person that that you're giving a gift to is of a medical or scientific background. That is the best book out there for that. Next is A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. This is a good book because this man was a Holocaust survivor and was a psychiatrist. So it's someone that isn't like directly tied to religion, and that may open the door, whereas a faith book may not do that as well. So would recommend that, as well as The 7 Levels of Intimacy by Matthew Kelly. My sister works with Matthew and said this book was pivotal for her. So she really enjoyed that one. My sister has also read Resisting Happiness. I haven't gotten through this one yet, but again, doesn't look threatening, and everyone loves happiness. So this could be a good book to reach someone who would not be open to a faith book. Next 2 books are from C.S. Lewis, The Great Divorce and Screwtape Letters. So many of you may know C.S. Lewis was not Catholic, but very close to it, of course. And these are great books. Father Mike Schmitz loves C.S. Lewis, so he's very good at tapping into the, human element of faith that is within all of us, and those could be helpful books for them. Please leave a comment below for items that you have found helpful for those that weren't interested in the faith, and this led to their conversion. I'd love to, follow on, next year in a video or something like that with additional items. I don't have a lot of experience in this, so any way you can help, I would appreciate it. Now we're going to go into Catholic items now, and the first one is the Saint Maker. You all have heard me talk about the Saint Maker before. This is a game changer. This is a planner that is unlike anything else in the Catholic world. It has both the new calendar and the traditional calendar, has feast and devotion ideas to help foster a liturgical life, and has really helped me lead my family better. I've always wanted to be more structured. I've always wanted to be a both a doer, but also have virtue and patience through it, because I've always kind of been task oriented and I get frustrated when things aren't working out. And this has been huge in that. I mean, I can't tell you the difference that it's made, so I'd recommend it. Cyber Monday sale's going on, but there's a promo code in the description below if you're not looking on those times. So recommend this. They're also doing a revamp of this with a new version. It is amazing. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. This could even be good for someone that's, kind of more lukewarm in the faith, wouldn't be in that first category where they're like kind of opposed to it, but, someone that is like, oh yeah, I know about the saints, whatever, the Saint Maker could be very helpful for them. Next is a gorgeous rosary hanger. So custom made. I asked for this verse to be added. I asked for additional spindles to Jesus through Mary. I love that. I actually write Adiesum per Mariam in all of my cards that I write for my family members and friends. I love that phrase. And this is just so quality. I mean, look at this. Look at this wood, how thick this is. I've got boys that destroy things, and this has not been destroyed yet. And they have took a toll on it. Highly recommend it. A little under $100 right now. Great Catholic father put this together. I'll show you a video, which you can see here, of how it's made. Incredible. I'd recommend it. There's a bunch of different styles, designs. So check that out. Again, it's so important to support Catholics, and Etsy is a great way to do it. There's so many Catholic options on Etsy, so recommend that highly. Next is the audio version of the Bible. I don't know about you, but I'm an audio guy. I like listening. Reading for me is sometimes a struggle, especially having kids now and trying to get things done and everything like that. So to have an audio Bible is priceless, and this is the best one right here. Listen.
The Jews then disputed among themselves.
How can this man give us his flesh to eat?
Truly, truly I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. For my flesh is food indeed, and my blood is drink indeed.
It is just so well done. Unfortunately, they just have the New Testament now, so the Old Testament is not, but hopefully one day they'll get to the Old Testament. Recommend getting that. That can be a gift for anyone in your family. Incredible. There's an app version and a CD version, which you'll see the links for in the description below. All right, and then this is a fun one for me. I love board games, and I've seen different Catholic board games, but this is by far the most hilarious one I've ever seen. It's called the Catholic Card Game, and I played it with my family a couple of weeks ago. Oh my goodness, I laughed so hard. It was so funny. It was so relatable, right? Just like talking about having large families and different Catholic celebrities and odd things Catholics do. It was just so funny. It's like apples to apples, but a Catholic version. And I loved it, man. I laughed so hard. I would highly recommend that. It's so great to get people together, especially Catholics. Sometimes we're like, okay, what do we do? We set a group rosary. What games can we play? This is a great one for all ages. Now we'll move on to men's specific items, and I'll start with Dynamis Alliance. So this is Dom Razzo's company. Dom Razzo is the Navy SEAL I interviewed a few months ago, and he is incredible. Awesome Catholic father, man, and leader, and I would highly recommend supporting him in any way you can. One thing that he recommends is the SADA training, but there's so many different items on there, so you can look at that based on your interests. Next is kind of related to that, is a bullet rosary. David Martinez, who's been on the channel, his wife puts these together. He actually shoots these rounds and they build these rosaries. These are not cheap, of course, but they are amazing looking. I don't have one myself, but I can only imagine carrying that around. So you may have someone in your family that would be drawn to that, and wanted to let you know of that option. Well, on the topic of rosaries, one that I have that I really enjoy is this one that Pierce from the Catholic Guardians made and actually sent to me for free. This is just an incredible rosary. As you can see, this chain is almost like a dog tag type material, does not come apart. And that is such a struggle. So many times they come apart, and I hate that. And it's awesome to see that this does not do that. I've had this for a while now, and I love this right here at the bottom. It says, I'm a Catholic, call a Catholic priest if there's an emergency. Yeah, it says, I am a Catholic. In case of serious accident, please call a priest. Love that. I don't see that on many rosaries, so we recommend that. So check him out. He does great work and awesome Catholic and father right there. So highly recommend this if you don't want a rosary that comes apart. So many, I mean, I've made rosaries before and they come apart and it's so annoying. You're sitting there putting it back together. So would recommend that for a rosary that you carry around on a daily basis. And now for items for women. Blessed is She is a great resource. If you haven't heard of Blessed is She, check it out. They do great work. My wife loves them and would recommend any items they sell. So check them out. Another incredible volume that is probably more for mothers, but also for women that are looking towards that vocation, is called the Summa Domestica. It's a 3-volume set. And I've heard great things about this, so check that out. It could be a great Christmas gift. Now we'll move on to apparel. And there are so many options out there for clothing items, but one that I would recommend is Carry Your Cross. So here's one of the shirts and the back of it. Great logo, great name, right? We all need to carry our crosses joyfully. They sell a variety of different items. Wristbands here, you'll see this Carry Your Cross logo. You've probably seen that somewhere. This is a pretty large brand. I know the owner, he's a great Catholic, married with 1 child, and they do great work. So I would highly recommend that. It's a great item for, whatever lifestyle you have, but teenagers especially. I know many times it can be challenging to get them excited about the faith, and clothing can bring something out in a way that other things might not. One more item for teenagers is the rap album Tradiciones. I know the artist behind this, Fawaz Yassi, was at his house a couple days ago for a Friendsgiving. Incredible man, phenomenal man, just so virtuous and peaceful, amiable, humble, just a great guy all around. And it's so cool to see that someone with such talent and lyrical skill does not become arrogant. I always have to be the one that says, hey, he's a rapper. And everyone's like, oh, really? I didn't know that. He's so humble, won't bring it up himself. Great guy, 4 kids, such a wonderful household they have, and really honored to know him. Next are some audio resources. I can't recommend Catholic Answers enough. They do such great work. There are some items on the Galileo affair that is very popular. Even my sister, who's in high school, was told how Galileo was so mistreated by the church and different things like that. And I was like, well, no, that's not actually true. And here are resources to help address that. So what a blessing that is. Answering Atheism is, from what I've seen, one of the best resources out there to address the atheistic arguments from Trent Horn, great apologist there. And The Living Bread. I love this series. This is a several-hour study on the Eucharist. It addresses everything, every verse of Scripture and things outside of Scripture, the early Christians. Great resource. I would highly recommend it if you want to learn more about the Eucharist, especially from an apologetic side. Next, we'll move into books. First book I would recommend is Made This Way by Trent Horn and Layla Miller. This book is so needed today, especially with this whole concept of what is a woman and what are rights and all these different things. Made This Way approaches this from an incredible perspective. Layla Miller, I think, is a mother of 8 kids, awesome Catholic woman, so she has the practical experience. Trent Horn is one of the best apologists around today, in my opinion, and he brings the apologetic side to it. So together they put together a masterpiece in explaining things that you could say to your 3-year-old if you have to. They come home and they're like, hey, so-and-so has 2 mommies or 2 daddies, and how you can respond in that way. Incredible. I'd highly recommend it. No matter who you are, get this book. This book is so good. There's a audio version that is not Audible related. It's called Rack's Books. I know everyone doesn't have Audible, so that's a good option there. Next is Why We're Catholic by Trent Horn. This book is one of the best books I have ever read. It is just so good. You can see I have little notches in the books where I found something amazing, and it's almost every other page has something. Trent is so gifted, and I would recommend this for anyone. Such a good book. Next is The Fulfillment of All Desire by Ralph Martin. This is a monster of a book. You see my pen is in here. It's a very similar thing, right? I have all these things bookmarked. I'm not even done with this book. It's so dense. It's so good. It is so good. Talk about reaching for sanctity. This book will help you do it. So we recommend that highly. Behind that is the classic, The Life of Christ from Fulton Sheen. So I literally have notes in here from when I was leading Bible studies on the Rosary, almost 10 years ago. Incredible book. I mean, Fulton Sheen was such a master, and to hear what he says about the life of Christ is amazing. If you don't have this book, you really need to get this. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And will really teach you so much. After that is a book called Victory Over Vice. It's not a well-known book by Fulton Sheen, but it's really amazing. It goes through like the 7 last words of Jesus and relates them to vice and how you can overcome it. I just love that book. I remember reading it. I think I read all of it on a plane ride. Such a good book. Next is Treasure in Clay, Fulton Sheen's autobiography. This is such a great book. This is so good to hear about like what he went through and how his life was and what he overcame. This is just a great book, and like you can hear his voice through it. I mean, he was literally writing this, I think, like until he died. It was, I love reading this book. Another Fulton Sheen book, 3 to Get Married. If you are interested in marriage, or you are married, or you're pursuing the vocation of marriage, maybe you're engaged or dating, read this book. Marriage is under such attack, and I think a lot of that is due to like how we prepare for marriage. And by reading this book, I think you'll have a new perspective of that. I remember when I was dating Anne-Marie and hearing his talks and reading his books, how it really shaped the man that I was and the man that I wanted to become. And I'm, of course, a work in progress, but that was so good to read and very powerful in my own life. So hope it will be in yours as well. This next book blew my mind. I'd never heard of the Jewish roots of the Eucharist and why the first Christians so easily caught on to the concept of the Eucharist, but reading this book blew my mind open. You know, the premise is that Jesus is the new Passover lamb, and therefore you have to eat his flesh to live. This is the hardest teaching in Catholicism. You know, how can we believe that bread becomes flesh? I mean, there are probably others that are more difficult, but this is unbelievable. I mean, the world today is like, that's crazy. How can you believe that bread is flesh? Especially when, if you look at it under a microscope, it's still bread. This book, amazing, amazing, amazing. Next is The Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis. Millions of people have read this book. It is such a classic. And another classic is The Confessions of St. Augustine by Frank Sheen. I know there are many translations, but I've heard that this is the most beautiful one, so feel free to check that out. Deliverance Prayers for Use of the Laity by Father Chad Ripperger. This is a fantastic book to protect your family against spiritual attacks, so would recommend that fully. Another book by Father Ripperger is Dominion. He just came out with that one. Next is The Temperament God Gave You, the classic key to knowing yourself, getting along with others, and growing closer to the Lord by Art and Laraine Bennett. My wife loves this book so much. I haven't read it myself, but she's like, oh yeah, it goes through sanguine, melancholic, and helps you learn how to love people in the way that they need to be and communicate it in the way that they need to be. So that is especially important today. Next is Back to Virtue by Peter Kreeft. Dr. Kreeft is probably one of the wisest men of our age, so feel free to check that out. And now we'll move on to books just for men. First is The 3 Marks of Manhood, How to Be Priest, Prophet, and King of Your Family. This is so important today because people are leaving the faith in droves because their father was not the priest, prophet, and king of the household, right? He didn't lead them in prayer as the priest of the household, right? So I'm like the domestic priest of our household. If prayer is not happening, that is my fault. It's my responsibility to take that on. And these are things that you see the statistics of when the father leads the family to church every Sunday, the likelihood of them practicing their whole lives is so much higher. All these things go into this, so would recommend that book. And the next one is from Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, who is an amazing man, and it's called Behold the Man, A Catholic Vision of Male Spirituality. He's an awesome man, dynamic preacher, so check that out. And now we'll go on to 2 women's books. The first is Story of a Soul by St. Therese. This is an incredible book, both for men and women, but if you're a woman out there and you haven't read this book, you are missing out. Please, please, please get this. And next is Madam Chic by Jennifer Scott. My wife read this in the parish book club and she loved it so much. It was really amazing because it kind of changed her mentality from being more casual to trying to do, once a week, something more elegant, right? Make a more elaborate dinner or, do something special for me or something like that, or get herself together more, things like that, in the craziness of kids and toddlers and everything like that, sometimes can fall to the back burner. So it was really neat to see that, and it's really impacted the way she's mothered and been an amazing wife since then. Now, books for parents. A Discipline That Lasts a Lifetime by Dr. Ray Guarendi. I love this book, and he reads this himself. He is just such a funny guy. I love him so much. His name's Ray. My name's Ray. Good thing there, right? So would definitely recommend that book for parents. It's just so great. I think he has 8 kids, and several of them were adopted. And next is A Discernment in Spirits and Marriage by Father Timothy Gallagher. This book is so important because as you have kids, the relationship gets so much harder, right? There's so many extra stresses that are applied. And this book helps you realize that there are forces trying to divide you. So we need to be unified, and this book is great at doing that. Then one recommendation for teenagers is The Shadow of His Wings, the true story of Father Jurion Goldman. Now we'll move on to kids items. So I have 3-year-old boys, so I'm gonna have more boy items than girls. So hopefully next year I'll have more girl items. But first we're gonna start with the armor of God. It has the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, shin guards of peace, the belt of truth, spirit of the word sword, and the shield of faith. My boys love knights and swords and battle, so this is perfect to incorporate the faith into it. To think about Ephesians, talking about putting on the armor of God and to actually have the armor of God, right? So trying to think of ways in my own life to introduce the faith in a way that, corresponds with their natural development. And this is, I think, a great option for that. Next is a mass set. And this is so important, I think, for every boy. Whether they're actually going to be called to the priesthood one day or altar serve, this is so key for them to have, because I think that, at least in my experience, boys are so much worse at mass overall than girls are. And to have them, take ownership in some way, to be like, oh, this is what's going on here. That's going to be a game changer. I don't have it right now, but I'm really looking forward to having this and seeing the impact that plays on them. Even the other day, Dominic had a little, it almost looked like a chalice, and he held it up just like the priest did. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. So just taking household items and doing that, I'm really excited to see them engage with this mass set. And one more item is the Jesus doll. Dominic and Michael have slept with this every night. And literally when I'm saying goodnight to them, they say, where's my Jesus? And they sleep with him. They hold him. And it basically replaces the teddy bear. And I love that, because that makes Jesus so close and known to them. He's not some painting on the wall. He's actually here. And I've heard people say, oh, well, doesn't that get rid of reverence? And what if they throw it and things like that? I would say that the benefit greatly outweighs them throwing it occasionally or something like that. I'm like, no, we don't throw Jesus, of course. But it's so great for them to have that. And I just love, as a dad, hearing them every night say, where's my Jesus? And I turn on the lights and I go get it and I give it to them. And then they hug it and they fall asleep with it. It's just so amazing. And I think it's going to have a great benefit on their spiritual life for years to come. Now we'll look at books. The first one is Pelusa, A Marvelous Tale. Great book. I mean, the boys love it. And I think it's so great that a priest wrote it. And there's a saying in there, Jesus, Mary, Joseph, help me and guide me. And Dominic and Michael, when they're scared, they say, Jesus, Mary, Joseph, help me and guide me. And it's so cute to see the Holy Family being called upon at such a young age. So would highly recommend that one. Incredible book. Next is Who Will Wear the Crown? This was actually written by the wife of a deacon. He's a great friend of my grandparents before they passed away, and an awesome man, faithful Catholic. And I just love this book. It's so great to think about King Jesus. I love that concept of Jesus being kingly. It just changes the way we look at everything. So please check this book out. The next two are great books, Audacious Ignatius and Saintly Rhymes for Modern Times. These ones you may have seen before, great books. The boys love them, and I would recommend them. One more that I don't have right now, but I'm ordering it, is from holyheroes.com. Great website. And it's a bead-by-bead picture prayer book for the mysteries of the Rosary. This is so good because it's very hard to get your children involved in the Rosary, especially at a young age. A lot of times, Amory and I will be saying the Rosary and they'll just be, playing around. We'll be like, hey guys, pray. But 15 minutes is a long time for kids to stay focused. And having this book where it literally walks through bead by bead and shows a different picture, I think will be really great for them. So those are some great options for you to look at for Christmas, for your family and friends. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please share it. I think this was a vast resource of different items. As you can see on my couch, you can't really see it, but there are a bunch of different items on my couch. So I hope this benefits you, helps you grow in the faith and love Jesus and serve him in a better way. If you enjoyed this, please like it and comment below for items that I didn't have on the list that you really enjoy, and we'll add those next year. So hope you have a blessed day, and God love you.